Abuse can happen to anyone, no matter the person's age, sex, race, religion, or ethnic or cultural background. Each year, more than 1,000 adults over the age of 60 are abused, neglected, or financially exploited. This is called elder abuse. Pasquale Cassane will tell you more.
Hello, my name is Pasquale Cassane. I'm a supervisor with GECAC Older Adult Protective Services, and I'd like to take some time today to talk to you about Older Adult Protective Services. Older Adult Protective Services Act was signed into law in November of 1998. It allows Pennsylvania Department of Aging to appoint local area agencies on aging, also known as AAAs, to be designated as to provide protective services for older adults. GECAC, the Greater Erie Community Action Committee, is the designated provider for older adult protective services in Erie County. Older Adult Protective Services is mandated by law to investigate concerns regarding abuse, neglect, exploitation, and abandonment of individuals over the age of 60. Older Adult Protective Services is available in every county in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has 52 area agencies on aging for the 67 counties. Every county has a AAA. GECAC is the AAA for Erie County, and each AAA has its own OAPS program. How do you contact Older Adult Protective Services? In Erie County, you would call here at GECAC. The number would be 814-459-4581, extension 205, to make a report to Older Adult Protective Services. Intake workers are trained in the requirements of taking a report of need, and will take the report, assign a category, and submit the report for a supervisor to review and assign. The supervisor will review the report, confirm or change the category on the report, and assign it to a caseworker to investigate if it meets criteria for an investigation. Reports coming into OAPS during non-business hours after 4:30 and on holidays and weekends can be made by contacting Professional Communications at 814-451-1520. Professional Communications staff will then contact the caseworker on call for the week and the backup supervisor to call the reporter back and take a report of need. Reporters may also call the toll-free Pennsylvania statewide OAPS number at 1-800-490-8505. This number is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania. Reports of need may also be taken via email, fax, and walk-ins to the GECAC office at 18 West 9th Street, Erie, PA 16501. The reporter's identity is protected by Older Adult Protective Services Act. OAPS cannot divulge a source of a voluntary report of need. OAPS should be contacted when a reporter has reasonable cause to believe that an older adult is in need of protective services in which the older adult is believed to be a victim of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or abandonment. Voluntary reporters, any person having reasonable cause to believe an older adult is in need of protective services, may report to the local area agency on aging. Mandated reporters are employees or administrators of facilities who has reasonable cause to suspect that the recipient is a victim of abuse and shall immediately make an oral report to the area agency on aging. Voluntary versus mandatory reporters. A facility definition is any one of the following: a domiciliary care home, also known as dom care homes, long-term care nursing facilities, an older adult daily living center, a personal care home, also assisted living facilities, and a home health care agencies. These are all considered mandatory reporters. Types of abuse investigated. As mentioned, we investigate abuse, neglect, exploitation, and abandonment, but there's subsets under each of those. For abuse, we investigate physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. Neglect, we investigate both caregiver neglect as well as self-neglect. And for exploitation, we not only financial exploitation, but also medication diversion, such as, an example of someone stealing somebody's pain medication. Anytime a report of need is taken, we're not only are we mandated to investigate the allegations on the report of need, but we're also mandated by law to look into all other areas of abuse, neglect, exploitation, and abandonment. Next, we're going to go over some signs of abuse, neglect, exploitation, and abandonment. Some of those signs are obvious, such as bruises and unexplained injuries, wounds, especially if they're left untreated, changes in behavior. such as, not paying your bills for somebody who's, traditionally pays their bills on time, um, social isolation, refusals to participate in social activities, increased fear, anxiety, and paranoia. These can all be signs of changes in cognition. Uh, Changes in personal hygiene. Somebody who's always been very fastidious about keeping up their hygiene and no longer is doing so is usually a sign of some sort of cognitive impairment. Changes in weight, significant weight loss, changes in eating habits, financial changes, sudden changes in power of attorney, changes in legal documents such as wills, new friends, like the handyman or a new power of attorney, on close relationships with caregivers that are concerning in nature. If the home healthcare aide is asking your older loved one to borrow money, those are usually signs that something is not right. There's 5 criteria in order for us to initiate an investigation that have to be met. The first 2 are pretty easy. The individual has to be in Pennsylvania. It says resident of Pennsylvania, but if they're a resident of New York or Ohio and are currently in a hospital in Pennsylvania, for the time they're in the hospital, they are considered a resident of Pennsylvania, and they have to be over the age of 60. The other 3 criteria that have to be met in order for an investigation to be initiated is there has to be believed that the older adult is at imminent risk of danger, serious bodily harm, or death. The older adult is believed, or the older adult, is believed to be an incapacitated person, unable to perform or obtain services that are necessary to maintain physical and/or mental health on their own without assistance. And the older adult is believed not to have a responsible caretaker who's able to provide the basic care and protection necessary to maintain the physical or mental health of the older adult. A caretaker, including facilities alleged to have abused, neglected, exploited, or abandoned an older adult, is presumed to be unable or unwilling to provide the necessary care and protection at the time of the report. So how will older adult protective services respond when a report is taken? The OAPS investigators must try to contact, first person we'll try to contact is the alleged victim. An initial face-to-face visit with the alleged victim wherever the victim is located within the time frame of the specified category. An investigator will always attempt to interview the alleged victim alone. The alleged victim does have the right to refuse to speak to an investigator or may choose to do so with somebody else present. The investigator will contact the older adult's primary care physician to get the physician's opinion on whether or not the alleged victim is a victim of any type of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or abandonment that the physician is aware of. We will also seek the physician's opinion on the victim's cognitive status and physical capacity, as well as any supervision and care needs they may or may not have. Older adult protective services will contact the alleged perpetrator when one is identified. We need to make the alleged perpetrator aware of the allegations and give them an opportunity to respond to the allegations. Not all alleged perpetrators are named as perpetrators of elder abuse for substantiated cases. There are some instances in which older adult protective services will not contact the alleged perpetrator in order to protect the alleged victim and/or not to interfere with a criminal investigation by law enforcement. Alleged victims' responsible party, i.e. their legal guardian, power of attorney, rep payee, next of kin, we will contact those people and interview them to inquire whether or not they have any concerns with the older adult. Informal collateral contacts, including contact with family, friends, and neighbors. We will also contact a series of professional collateral contacts, including local hospitals, law enforcement, paramedics, nursing facilities, personal care homes, home health care agencies, financial institutions, attorneys, Erie County District Justice's Office, district magistrates, and other professional agencies such as Crisis Services, Erie County Care Management, the Humane Society, utility companies, you name it. If a professional collateral is working with an older adult and it pertains to our investigation, we will contact that professional collateral to find out whether or not they have any concerns with the older adult being a victim of any type of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or abandonment. The investigation in regards to allegations of abuse and neglect should be done within 20 days. We have 20 days under the Older Adult Protective Services Act to conduct an investigation and to reach a determination on whether to substantiate or unsubstantiate the allegations on the report of need or any other allegations discovered during the course of an investigation. I will say that for financial exploitation, that 20 days, we are given a little more leeway with that, as sometimes it takes a long time to collect the necessary financial documentation to review in order to make an appropriate determination on whether to substantiate or unsubstantiate. So we have a little bit more leeway with the 20 days when it comes to financial exploitation. So resolution of a case. So if we do an investigation and we end up substantiating an allegation, whether it was on the report of need or something discovered during the investigation, we generally resolve cases in the following ways. An investigation confirms the allegations contained on the report of need are true. Any of the type of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or abandonment is discovered, and all 5 criteria are met. We have the ability to develop a care plan or a service plan. We will work with the older adult or whoever their decision maker is on creating this plan. And the plan we create is in order to reduce the risk to the older adult. Like I said, the care plan will be shared with the older adult and their responsible party if they have a responsible party. And it'll be a collaboration with older adult protective services in an effort to reduce the risk by the most lenient measures possible. Older adult protective services has the ability and may, in some cases, seek legal measures to reduce the risk to an older adult. Legal measures can include anything from a referral to law enforcement for something that could potentially be a criminal act. And it could also pertain some sort of court intervention. Older adult protective services has the ability to petition the courts for emergency guardianships and emergency intervention orders. We can also assist with access orders, protection from abuse orders, and whatnot. We do have the ability to seek legal remedies when they are necessary. Another thing older adult protective services can do when we substantiate a case is nothing. We could potentially take no action. Sometimes substantiated case, we are able to substantiate the allegations. It did happen at the time of the incident. The older adult was at imminent risk, but during the course of the investigation, the risk has remedied itself and there is no need for ongoing protective services. So on occasion, we do substantiate cases that do not require any ongoing protective services. It's important to know that if the older adult has cognitive capacity, they have the right to self-determination under the law and may decline protective services. So we could potentially substantiate a case. We could create a care plan and work on that care plan with the older adult. The older adult has the ability to accept all of that care plan, parts of that care plan, or none of that care plan if they have the ability to make their own decisions. If a perpetrator is identified, the older adult protective services will inform the perpetrator in writing that the allegations have been substantiated and they have been identified as a perpetrator of elder abuse. They have the right to appeal. That will be explained in the letter that is sent to them, and the appeal process is through the Pennsylvania Department of Aging. We keep substantiated cases on file for 3 years. After 3 years, those files are expunged per Older Adult Protective Services Act. For unsubstantiated cases, so if we do our investigation and in 20 days we cannot confirm the allegations contained on the report or any other area of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or abandonment, we will unsubstantiate the allegations and close the case. The older adult is notified that the case was closed. When applicable, we will make referrals to other service areas. The alleged perpetrator on the report and the reporter are immediately deleted and unsubstantiated from the record. We keep unsubstantiated case files on record for 6 months. If we receive no other concerns regarding that older adult within that 6 months, that file will be expunged. That is all I have for you. If you have any questions, feel free to call in the GECAC 814-459-4581 and request to speak to a protective services supervisor, and we will be more than happy to answer any other questions you may have about our program. Thank you.